Copyright in these lectures is either owned by the ANU or a third party who has licensed the ANU to use it. Students may use the recording for personal study only. No lecture may be communicated online, copied or shared without the prior permission of the ANU.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So this week is week 5, and please remember next week is your midterm exam week. So no tutorial, no lecture. Right? So just focus on your exam. So all the exam-related information has been uploaded on Moodle, including the exam time, venue, the pre-exam consultation, practice question solution to that. All those documents are on Moodle, so you can have a look there. If any questions, feel free to come to our consultation, and or you can send us email. So today we are going to talk about enterprise information system and how that can help management accounting in organizations' daily operations. So I think what you learned in 7.08 and also the first few weeks of this course, you learned some theoretical knowledge. Why we have the way that how we calculate a certain number, how we should record numbers, record transactions in terms of journal entries, right? How to prepare the financial statements. But do you know that in reality, when you are actually doing this work these days, then you don't need to do that manually, right? Or for most companies, right, they will have software, right, to help us do that. So as an accountant, what you need to do is just type in numbers, right, and then the software will automatically generate the ledgers, transaction records, and prepare the financial statements for you, right? So there's not too many human labor involved, thanks to the technology. And sometimes even if as an accountant, you don't need to type the numbers on the software. So these days, I think there's one software, can't remember the name, but it should be Xero. Maybe some of you heard of that. So if for Xero, right, as long as the clients, right, once the client makes a purchase, then they just need to take a picture of the receipt, and then the receipt can be automatically sent, right, to their accountant's computer, and then record it automatically, right? The cost will be automatically recorded in the accountant's computer. So making things very easier, right? And these days, even accounting is connected to the so-called artificial intelligence, right? So lots of things going on here these days with the advancement of technology. So as management accountants, we also need to keep ourselves updated. But this does not necessarily mean that theoretical knowledge you learned, like how to record a debit, how to record a credit, how to make them balance. So I think as an accountant, you still need them, right? Otherwise, if there are some problems occurred, right, when you are using technology, then as a human accountant, you can still find the problems. You need to find the problems, right? So without those fundamental accounting theory knowledge, then you will be in trouble, right? If the technology is broken, it's not working. Because sometimes those technologies does have problems. You heard of the Ethiopical aircraft, the crash, right? And including the Lions Airline, and so that's connected to the Lion Indonesian airline company, Lion, right? There's another aircraft crash about 2 or 3 months ago. So that's why now Boeing, the largest aircraft company in the world, now is in big trouble. And people say that one suspect reason for those two airplane crash is related to the one of the technology used, right, within the computer computer system, right, implemented in the two airplane. So that's why technology has problems. It cannot replace human beings, right, and their work, but it can make our work easier sometimes. So today we are just talking about one particular application of IT information technology or information system named as enterprise information system, and how that can help management accounting in organizations' daily operations. So, so this enterprise information system is mainly used, right, in a company's production cycle, especially for those manufacturing firms, right? So in other words, for manufacturing firms, right, the adoption of those information system, information technology is going to be very helpful. Right? I will explain why. I will give you some examples as we go through the slide. And then we are going to talk about enterprise resource planning system. So it's just one specific type of enterprise information system. So enterprise information system is just like a broad concept, right? Like when we're talking about cars, we talk about a certain model like sedan, SUV, but within that model, there are many different types of, right, specifications of cars, right? So that's why, so the enterprise information system it resembles the sedan, right, concept when we're talking about cars. And an enterprise resource planning system is just like one specific model of sedan, right, made by a certain company. So that's the relation between these two concepts. So overview of the production cycle. I think you guys should be very familiar. Production means, the company, right, they have to make the product themselves, right? Making product means they have to, start doing the work from scratch, right? So there's no car, there's no, whiteboard marker at all at the beginning. So the company needs to purchase material, hire some labor, and then put them together to make the finished products, right, from zero. So that's production activities. But some of you may have just a narrow view on production activity, right? Some of you may think, oh, production is just purely about manufacturing per se, right? Which is the production exaggeration, right? But I think the production cycle concept is more than that, right? So think about it. Even before you start, making products, you need a plan, right? We talked about ABC, we talked about traditional costing, all those cost function, all those accounting tools that can help the company plan for its future production. So that's why in the concept of production cycle, right, it should start from the production planning, right? So the company need to think about what's the production requirements. So how many products we need to make, right, before we actually start the production process. And then, so once we figure out how many units we need to make, then we need to think about what are the consequences, right? What are the sequence of making the products. So that's why most companies, they need to prepare a production schedule, right? On which date, right, the product should be in what stage of, in the process of being made, something like that. And then a related question would be, what are the materials, right? What are the labor, what are the, overhead expense that are likely to occur. And then the company needs to know all those information, right, before they even start the production. So production exaggeration, right, simply speaking, is just, the actual manufacturing process. And, after the product exaggeration stage, as an accountant, because we are talking about accounting here. So the job hasn't been finished. We also need to record cost, right? So yes, we have a plan. We have a budget for the manufacturing process for this year. But at the end of the budget period, is the real cost the same as what we planned, right, or not? So that's also a key question. Because by knowing the actual results and comparing the actual results against the expected figures, right, budgeted figures, then the company can, the company can diagnose some problems, right? So if the cost was much higher than what we expected, then that's the signal of problem. So why the cost is higher than what it should be, according to our plan, right? So therefore, the story keeps on going. And so if that occurs, then the manager needs to, have more investigations, right? Going to the production line, as management accountant, you have to go to the production line and then talk to the workers to see, what do they actually do in the manufacturing process during the everyday work, right? There's a scandal in Sydney Railway. Someone took a picture. So 6 workers, they spent the whole half day to pass the bricks. So basically, the 6 workers standing in a line, right? And then the brick passed from the first person to the second person to the third person, and so on and so forth. It's just 5 meters, right? 5 meters length. How come 6 person, doing that for half day? Just pass, a few bricks. So that's why, sometimes management accountant, right, they need to go to the site and then check what's going on there, right? So that's the problem. That's where, they can find the problem. So that's why, that's the production cycle, right? But another key consideration is, along the production cycle is, as a company, right, especially a manufacturing company, we need to ensure that sufficient goods are manufactured in time to meet customer demand. And I think this is especially, very important in these days, competitive environment, right? So everyone now, have the technology. Right? Most of the companies, they are very good at the technology, they can make very similar products. Then the next level competition will be on this, right? Who can, make our customer more happy, right? So more satisfied. So this is how they can achieve that, right? Always, always meet what the customer requires, right? So these days, customer may want a product, right, within 2 days or even the same day. Can we do that job, right? Are we quicker than our competitors, right? Provided that we can still ensure the quality of the product, right? So that's why, in order to achieve this objective, there are some key things we need to think about. So the first one, production level, right? So this is kind of very high level of decision, typically made by senior management. So this decision involves determining the type and the quantity of the product, right? As you can see here, as a company, what's the strategy? What's the overall strategy for us? So what type of products we should make, right? So what are the targeted customer group for each of the products we are trying to make, right? So that's a very high level decision. And of course, in order to of course, the next question would be, if we decide to make one certain type of product, then how many of them we should plan to make, right? So this is very important, because if the company has very bad plan, then 2 consequences. First, 2 possible consequences. First, if you under manufacture a certain type of products, then they will make the customer unhappy, right? They can't deliver their products in time, right? Which is important these days. And the second consequence, if they overproduce the goods and then they can't sell all of them, they will also have problems, right? Because it will cost the company a lot of money to store and maintain those goods, right? So even if goods are not sold, when those goods are not sold, but the company still need to make sure they are still in good condition, right? So that they can still be sold in the future, hopefully, right? So this involves cost, right? So this is the production level decision, and the manager need to make. And another, the next level decision is more about, is more at product level, right? So once the company figure out, what type of product they need to make and the quantity for each of them, then, they also, they need to think about what type of materials that we need, and from whom we should purchase those material, right? And similarly, what are the, how many total labor we need in order to make those quantity of goods, right? So these are all the all the decisions managers need to make in order to achieve this objective here we just mentioned, right? And another thing, actually I kind of mentioned, is the balancing the supply and demand, right? This is not only for the outputs, not only for, right? This is not only for the the products, the finished products, but also we need to balance the supply and demand for the raw material, the inputs, right? Because sometimes when to purchase the raw materials is a big issue, right? The iron price change every day, like the gold price change every day. So most of the companies, especially construction companies, right, they need to typically, right, they will make a larger number of purchases when the iron price is at a low level, so that they can save a lot of amount of money, right? However, they also need to make sure that they don't over purchase, right? Otherwise. But in fact, I think a construction company is okay, because no matter when, they always need iron, right? But for some other companies, especially high-tech company, so they really need to be careful, right? Don't over purchase. Otherwise, they can't sell, if they can't use or sell those materials, then they may become obsolete, and the value will drop to zero, right? So it's a case by case scenario here. But the point here is balancing the supply demand for materials and products is very important. So to be honest, sometimes if you want to purchase a piece of furniture, a sofa here in Australia, or even a car, it's very frustrating. Sometimes if you go to Fantastic, go to whatever, even Harvey Norman, right? It take at least 1 month to get that sofa delivered, right? Do you feel that annoying? I think so. No, not very good. But the problem is in Australia, the economy is not that large, so not too many competitors in the industry. So they are enjoying a monopoly position. So that's why we have no choice, right? But I have to purchase sofa from them. But if you are in China, in India, okay, if you can't give me sofa, if you can't get my sofa delivered tomorrow, then I will change another company, right? Very easily solved. So some of you may argue that, may ask why we talk about the production cycle. So we are talking about accounting here. So what's the role of accounting? So this is the role of accounting in this production cycle. And so accounting can help plan, right, the production, and accounting can help record the actual cost occurred in the production process, right? So that's the two major functions of accounting: planning and exaggeration. So, for example, in the production planning process, what accountants can do, they can use the data from the product specification and the raw material inventory data to create a bill of material. So I will show you one example of the bill of material. So, but basically what accountants can do here is, so with the bill of material, they can record all the cost, right? Each individual cost, right? Related to a particular item or material or resource included in the bill of material. So that they can, generate or estimate the overall cost of making a particular product. And sometimes accountant can also help plan, right? Make a plan, at which date we have to, the product has to be, we have to proceed the production process to a certain phase, right? Something like that. So that's how accounting can help in calculating the production requirements. And in addition, remember you learned break-even point, right, analysis. So as an accountant, we can help calculate the future demands of the products, right? In the future, if the price, if we increase our selling price by $1, $2, then how many units we need to sell, right? And then create a survey questionnaire and send it to our potential customers, and so that we can get we can have a guess, right? Whether selling those units is a possible task for us or not, right? Depending on customers' demands. So another thing I think worth mentioning is the automatic reorder points, right? So this I think is with the use of information technology, right? Sometimes the company can use those software or technology to set the automatic reorder point. So basically, in a computer system, right, they set a benchmark. Say, for example, if the total number of material becomes less than 100 kilograms, then the system can be programmed so that it can send an email directly to their supplier, right, requesting to purchase more material. So in this process, this can be pre-programmed, meaning that no human beings, right, will be involved in this process, right, saving labor cost, right? Because traditionally without technology, the accountant or someone from the department, they need to call, right, make a call. First, they need to check whether the inventory level. They need to check the inventory level. Second, if they find the inventory is not enough, then they need to make a call to their supplier, and then talk about and negotiate the repurchasing amount. But with the technology these days, then that process can be simplified without human involvement. And in addition, in the production planning process, accountants can act as a gatekeeper, right, for the use of materials. Sometimes, a certain department, sometimes in the manufacturing process, because the frontline workers, the production manager, what do they care more? What do they care most is the quality of the product, right? To make sure the product meets the quality. But sometimes they may overlook the cost involved, right? So to make sure the quality, to make sure the highest quality of the product being made, they may say, we wanted this material. We wanted this material, right? Because this material is the best one available in the industry. I want so many. I want the best workers, graduated from LSE, Harvard, or Stanford. Yeah, that's good. But the reality is, do we have enough money? Do we have enough resources, right, to support this? Right. So as an accountant, we need to check, right, what's our constraints, right? What's the realistic available resources we can use, right, in the manufacturing process, right? So that we need to tell this information. We need to negotiate and inform the production manager about these available resources, so that they can have an idea, right? What type of workers, what type of material, right, that is more realistic to be purchased, to be used, right? So these are all examples of how accounting can help in this production process. So I think this is the So this is one example of the customer, the production order, right? In the form, you can see, this one department requested by this person, right? This is requested name, and then this person requests the deliver of materials, right, to this location, to their warehouse, right? So this is one, just a simple example of the production schedule request for a certain type of material, right? Yeah. So in the production planning, accountants can help. Accountants can also have other roles, like determining the quantity of each product required, right? The production schedule, and then obtain the real data, obtain the real cost, right, in the production process, and then compare that against budget, so on and so forth, right? So that's just other functions of accounting in this process. So this is one. What's this? This is a another example of material requisition form. So if the production department require more material, typically, right, they need to fill in a form like this and then send it to the warehouse or procurement department. And then in the note, the quantity of the material needed is also written here, like 50 in this case. What's that? This is this is a blank version, and this is the filled-in version, right? Filled in by labor. So in the end, the production manager need to also sign that. Otherwise, it cannot be proceeded to the warehouse or procurement department. So accounting not only can help the production planning stage, but also they can help the production exaggeration stage, right? As we discussed in the production exaggeration stage, one important activity is assemble required resources, right? In the manufacturing process, we put all the material together, and then with the purpose of making final products. So accounting can help, keep us updated, keep us, the updated cost figures. And in addition, accountants need to make sure that the material is available, right? By looking at their account records, they know that how many materials are still available for use, right? And then they can, again, they can act as a gatekeeper, right? As a monitor, right, for the manufacturing process, so on and so forth. And once the material has been used, then as an accountant, we need to record them, right? So that we need to keep the accounts updated. I think this is an example of the production schedule. So you can see that in this document, it lists all the materials needed for making a certain product, and also the quantity, that'll be needed, right? So just to give you some examples. So what's the documents you can see, right, in a manufacturing company? And actually, these are the source documents accountants need, right? Because they need some evidence, they need some reliable, source documents so that they can, record the accounting numbers in their book. So, not to mention, in the end, especially, accounting can play a big role here, right? Calculate cost, record the cost, estimating, the cost of making products, right? And then calculating the total real cost of making those products, and do a comparison, and then perform variance analysis, right? So that's the production cost. That's the production cost recording, so which is the major role for accountants. So this is the production. So this is just a brief about the production cycle and then how accounting can help. But as I said, in order for accountants to record some of the cost numbers, cost information, they need a source document. So keep in mind, these documents are very important, right? Because without those documents, then, how those numbers can be trusted, right? So actually, for each single number recorded in the accounting system, in the company's accounting system, right, this should always be related to at least one source document, right? And traditionally, without computer, without the information technology, right, you can see that for a company, they will have a very big room, right, used for storing these documents, paper-based documents. But as I mentioned later on, these days with the use of computer, then the paperworks are minimized, right? Because all these forms, paper-based forms, cannot be replaced by Word documents, for example, right, by Excel, so that the company can save a lot of money, because paper is not right. It's not free, right? And also paper documents, they can be easily destroyed, stolen, and so not very safe. But if you use computer-based system, then you just need to set up a password. Then it's really safe. But traditionally, right, some of the paper-based documents that are needed, There are many different types of them. So here I give you some of the key documents used in the manufacturing process, right? So management accountants also needed them. So the first is the purchase requisition form. So what's that? So maybe I need to draw a picture here, which I don't like. So you know that in a manufacturing firm, how many departments they may have different departments, right? So let's just say this is the production department. So production departments are those departments really making products, right? So in order to make a product, they need what? They need material, right? But do you think this department will also have should also be given the responsibility or the authority to purchase material? Why? Because of the avoid possible risk, right? So let's think about it. If you are, the production department, if the production manager, he's, responsible for determining how many products to make, and he also has the authority to, to purchase the material, then I think he may manipulate the numbers, right? And then put it, to get some personal benefits, right? So one good example is, in the company's record, in the production department's actual record, right? The production manager may collude with the accountant over this department, and then saying, oh, on the paper we put 100 units, but in fact, he may, right, ask the department to make 150 units, and then put the 50 units as his own, and then resell them to gain some private benefits, right? So you will learn that in auditing. It's called a segregation of duties. So one person, right, cannot stay in a position for a very long time. So that's why you will learn that a rotation is a good way to avoid that. And another way of doing that is segregation of duties. So instead of authorizing the production manager the duty to do that, instead we give this authority to another independent person. Right? So that's why in most manufacturing firms, they will have a procurement or purchasing department. So generally, the purchasing department is responsibility or given the authority, right, to purchase all the materials needed, right, for different departments. So we just in this example, there's just one production department, but in reality, there can be, production department 2 and the production department 3, right? So whenever a particular production department, they find, right, they realize that they need more materials, then they will fill in a material purchase requisition form, right, formally requesting the purchasing department of the company to purchase more materials, right? So that's, that's where the documents starts from here. So the material requisition form, right? So generally initiated by the production department and then sent to the purchasing department, right? So after the purchasing department, the purchasing department manager approve this application, then they will talk to their supplier, right? They will formally make a request to purchase material from their supplier. So supplier is just a outside company. So if you like, so these are just the transactions, right, between different departments within the same company, right? So in other words, material requisition form is documents, right, flowed within the same company, right? But I think there's another one here. So the purchase order So purchase order in comparison. Purchase order, do you have a guess where the purchase order should appear? It should be here, right? So purchase order is kind of a document connecting the company, right, with their outsiders, especially the suppliers, right? So these are the difference. Right? Material purchase requisition form, right, is an internal document within the company, but a purchase order is a document connecting, insiders and outsiders. Right? So that's the difference. And the next documents they need is supplier list. And this is sometimes is important, right? Because the company always need to have a backup for their suppliers. So if one supplier is not doing good, or they are short of stock, short of material, to ensure our production process is not affected, then we should have a backup. Right? We should have a second or a third supplier, so that we can still purchase the same material from. Right? The bigger the company, then generally the longer the list would be. So bill of material. So I showed you some of the examples. I showed you one example, but this is a better one here. So if you purchase a piece of furniture here in Australia, then you know that when you receive the package, right, you will, of course, in most cases, you need to assemble the furniture yourself, right? But also you are given the instructions. So remember in the instruction, what do you have? You have, the instruction will tell you how, or the process, or the sequence of making the furniture, and all the materials, all the parts that are included in that package, right? So this is very similar to the bill of material. Similarly, in a manufacturing firm, right, the bill of material, right, will show all the components, all the parts needed for the company to make a product, to make a certain product, and how many pieces of each parts that are needed. So that's the bill of material. So material requisition, I think I just talked. So I think no, it's different. So material requisition is another document that is very confusing, because it can confuse. You may confuse that with the purchase requisition and the purchase order. So maybe we need to go back to the picture here. So we talked about the production and the purchasing department, right? So let's assume a certain purchase of a certain number of material is approved by the purchasing department, and then the material has been purchased. Then what do you think? So the material will go directly to the production department or somewhere else? Will go to another department, which is the warehouse department. Have you heard of warehouse? Have you go to Bunnings? Have you went to Bunnings? It's just like a warehouse and a Costco, right? So a very big room, and with lots of products there. Some products are even unpacked, right? So those are warehouse, where all the materials, once being purchased, will be delivered to the warehouse. So then, remember, the request of purchasing more material is from these guys, right? From production department. So when the material arrived, then the purchasing department will notify the production department, and then the production department, in order to get those material, they need another form, which is the material requisition form. So the material requisition forms are still generated by the production department, but is sent to which department? To the warehouse department, right? It's kind of the request from the production department for releasing the material, right, that will be used for that particular production department. So the material requisition form will be sent to the warehouse department, and then material will then be delivered, right, to the production department, right? So these days, for big companies like Apple, each of the departments is actually located in a different country, right? The production plant may be in China, right? And the warehouse department may be in India or Malaysia. And the purchasing department may be in US, right? Because they need to make sure the material they purchased, meets the standard of the product of the company, right? So on and so forth. So that's why without information technology, the communication will be very complicated for those companies, right? With different departments located in different countries, different locations. Some of you may ask why they have different departments located. Why they want to do this? Why they have different departments? They place different departments in different countries. Yeah, same cost, right? Production, the labor cost in China used to be very, very cheap, but unfortunately now they are shifting the production plant to countries around, like Indonesia, Philippines, right? Now the labor they are cheaper. Yeah, so that's one reason, right? They have different departments located in different countries. But anyway, this is the material requisition form. And there are some other source documents. The move tickets. As I said, if the company, if a company like Apple, they have different departments in different countries, then they need these move tickets. So in the move tickets allow the company to track, right? To track, on which date, what type of material is in which country, right? So this is important because sometimes, if we want to send a material from US to China, or, we need to maybe first go to Africa, because Africa is, Middle East. Middle East, geographically speaking, is in the middle. So maybe the material goes through Middle East before they are delivered to China, right? So there's a risk there, right? So maybe material will be lost, will be stolen somewhere in the delivery process, right? So that's why we need these movie tickets, to make sure that we have a track. We can track, we know where the material is, on which date. So if any material is missing when it arrives China, then we can know exactly, right, where it's lost, right? So that's the monitoring tool. So move tickets. Production schedule, as I mentioned earlier. So basically, this is source documents telling us, right, the sequence, right, the order of making a particular product, right? So, for example, in the production schedule, it tells us which department, will be the first department, right, for the manufacturing process, and which department is the last one, right, the product will go through, something like that. So this is one example of the production schedule, right? It listed the date. It specifies the date when, and how many a certain type of product need to be made, and when they need to be shipped, and how many of them need to be shipped to our customers. So timesheets. I think this is very familiar to you guys. If you have a casual work, right, you know that you need to, when you go to work, you need to sign in first, right? And then when you finish work, you sign out, so that your manager can calculate the total number of hours you worked for them, so that they can prepare, the payment for you guys. What time is it? Yeah, do you wanna? Oh, it's still early, I think. So maybe let's go through more slides before we have a break. So, yeah, so these are the, traditionally, these are all the paperwork the company need to prepare, right? So, as you can see, that will be a lot of papers, right? And for at least 3 years, the company cannot destroy them, right? Because in case some uncertainty happens, they need to go back to those documents and then do the checkings. So that's why, as I said, traditionally the company will have a very big room storing those documents. But these days, probably we don't need that, right? Because of this system, right? Enterprise information system. So what's the enterprise information system? So basically, they are just the software applications, so that are used for one of the following purposes. So if the company has a software, right, and then they are used for either of these purposes, then we can call them enterprise information system. So what are the functions? So capture their transactions and to produce outputs that are used for planning, decision making, and financial reporting. Right? As I said, as an accountant, right, in 7008, you learn that you need to record the transactions. Right? You debit, maybe assets, and you credit, cash, whatever. Yeah, so that's traditionally, right, accountants need to do. But at these days, you just need to type in numbers, right, into the software, and then, the software automatically records the transaction for you, right? So that type of software is one type of enterprise information system. So automate business process. One good example is the automatic reorder point, right? There's no human labor involved. So you just need one employer. You just need one person, one worker, right, to pre-program, right, the point of reorder point, the point of reorder. Then you just need to. You don't need to worry about it. So that's called automate, right? Business process, automation in the business process. And even these days, as an early example, I showed you the aircrafts, right? So these days, all those technologies actually driving the airplane, right? But of course, we need human beings in some stages, like the landing off, and in the landing off process, right, we need the crew, the captain, right, to do some human work. But as long as the flight is in the air, then there's no human involved, right? All driven by technology. So that's called automation. That's another example of automation process. So linking business process within a organization. So this sometimes the software can help connect, right, automatically connects different departments within the same company, right? So for example, as we will talk about the enterprise resource planning system later on. So with this software application, right, the sales department, that transactions recorded by a salesperson can be automatically shown and connected to the accounting department, right? So if today a salesperson sells 10 jackets, then that information will be automatic as long as it's recorded by the salesperson in their computer system. Then that information, right, will be shared straight away with people in the accounting department, right? So this can reduce the delay of transferring the information, right? So link different organizations together. So software application can connect the company with their suppliers as one example, right? So basically, if a particular software application has either one of these functions, then we can say it's an enterprise information system. So that's why we said collectively we refer this software application to as enterprise information system. So here's one example, and how the enterprise information system can help the company's everyday business. So the company here we are talking about is a Foster, right? It's a local business here in Australia, and making beers, but different types of beers, and in different countries, right? So without enterprise information system, in each country they probably need this manufacturing, accounting, finance, human resource, sales and marketing departments, right? So why? Because these departments are needed for its value chain, right? Starting from the purchase of raw material, right? They need accountants, right? They need maybe human resource department, right, to assign labors, and then they receive raw material, produce and deliver, market and sell, and then install and service. So these are the key activities, right? Key operating activities of the company, right? No matter their business the business in Australia, in US or in Europe. So that's why in each country, so they have operations, right? They make and sell those beers, in a large amount of countries, right? So to make sure the product has consistent quality, can meet customer can meet customer demands. So they need to have these departments, human resource, sales, marketing, these 5 departments, right, in each country that they have business in, right? Because otherwise, how can they make sure their production process, sales process, right, goes smoothly, right? But what's the problem? What's the problem of that? Lots of money involved. So in each country, you need these departments, right? So I think it's not right. It's not cheap to set up accounting department, human resource department. You not only need the buildings, you need the venue, the office, but also you need to hire people, right? So lots of cost involved. And another problem is you're actually doing some repeating work, right? So think about it. You have an accounting department in Australia. You have an accounting department in Europe. But of course, each location, they may have their unique characteristics. But overall, the work is duplicated, right? Because the accounting job is very similar, right? Of course, there are some variations, but the general process is going to be the same, right? So repetition is another, right? Duplication of the work is another problem, right, for the company. So to overcome those problems, the company can implement enterprise information system. So instead of having a unique function system for each location, now the company just needs one single entry, right? So what does that mean? Single entry means, say for example, with the enterprise resource planning system, what the company can do is they can just have one accounting department in the head office in Australia. But that accounting department will be electronically connected, right, to other departments through enterprise information system. Through other production departments, for example, and a sales department. So in that case, maybe the salesperson in Europe, once the sale has been made, then they record it in the system. Then there's no need to have accounting job done here in Europe. But that job now will be processed by the people in the head office here in Australia, right? Because once the sales information is recorded locally there, then that information will be straight away shared, right, with the head office in Australia. So that's what it means by single entry system, right? You just enter the sales. You just need to enter the sales data here locally once in Europe, and then you don't need to record the same number again, because that information will be shared automatically by the head office. So traditionally, right, without the enterprise information system, what they need to do is, they need to record the number here. Sales information need to be recorded here in Europe, and then the accounting department in Europe will prepare some of the accounting records, right? And then they need to send those records through post or whatever, or through telephone calls or whatever, right? Send those cost information from Europe to Australia, right? So that's the case where there's no enterprise information system. But at these days, there's just one single entry. One single entry is enough, right? So as you can see, this enterprise information system is very important, right, for big companies, have locations, have operations in different countries. So this is basically one specific type of enterprise information system. So we call it enterprise resource planning system. So SAP is a company that specifically makes enterprise resource planning system. So what the company is doing is they are trying to figure out the best way, the best practice that can connect the company's different departments, like the sales distribution departments, production planning, right? So basically, what the company is doing is they set up, they manufacture or they invent, they try to develop a software that can best connect different departments of the company, right? Why they want to do that? Because these departments are connected somehow, right? Accounting department need the information from sales department, right? And the production department need the information from the sales department and also from the accounting department, right? So to make the communication more easier, so this company is doing this work, right? Inventing, developing the software, better connecting different departments of the company. So we talked about enterprise information system, and there are 3 types. So single entry system record transactions and obligations, right? So basically, single entry system. I think I'm just thinking one example here. Yeah, it's actually here. So Microsoft Money and Quicken. So they are good examples of the single entry system. So what's the single entry system? What's single entry system? So if it's a single entry system, then it can only be used for recorded transactions, right? It can only be used for recorded transactions, right? So a transaction occurs, you type numbers, then the system will help you generate, will help you record those transactions and then prepare ledgers, whatever. So that's it, right? I think the next level of enterprise information system is the inwardly organized system. So compared to the single entry system, this second type of system helps connect different departments of the company, right? Yes, they can do the transaction job, but more importantly, this system can connect, right, the transactions, right, from 2 different departments, like connecting the sales department with the accounting department, right? So that's called inwardly organized system, right? A higher level system. And the highest level of enterprise information system is called an outwardly organized system. So again, it's more complicated, in terms of development and functionality, right? So as you can see from the word outwardly, so it means this system can not only help connect the company's own departments, but it also can help connect, the company with external users. External parties, like Australian government. You know that the companies, if they operate in Australia, they need to pay tax. I think nowadays, they have a software that can connect the company with ATO. Right? So basically, as long as the company figure out, so basically the system, the software, right, can help the company do some tax calculations. And then once that has been done, then that figure will be automatically sent. That tax income figure will be automatically sent to ATO. Right? So another example of outwardly organized system is a system software application that can connect the company with their suppliers. Right? So these are examples of outwardly organized system, different levels. So some of you may ask which software is the better? Which software is better? The single entry, the inwardly or outwardly organized system? Which one is better? Outwardly, yes, but more accurate answer should be depends. Right? Outwardly, technically speaking, is better, but also depending on the company's requirement and demands. So outwardly system is not cheap. I heard from my friend. He's working in KPMG, and he said one of his clients, every year, they spend more than $1 million for using the outwardly system, right? Because if you implement a outwardly organized system, then I think it's very complicated. You can set up the authorization, right, for a certain level of job. Say for example, if you are the top manager, you can see everything, right? But if you are lower level employees, you are also authorized only to see a certain number of information available in the company. And sometimes, the outwardly organized system, can allow a free chat section, right? So basically, it's just like a Facebook company internal Facebook. The employees can talk to each other, and if it's outwardly system, then they can also authorize some external parties, right, to join the group chat, right, within the company. So it's very fancy, very complicated. I really want to show you guys, but because because I'm doing research with the company, I do see how this system is used within the company. But hopefully you guys can learn them yourself when you are going to work. So if you are working for a big company, I think you must see this software. You must learn this software. It's very, very commonly used in most companies, big companies. What time is it? Maybe let's have a quick break. Yeah, so let's have a quick break before we continue.
Conversion started and completed to uses solid some breakthrough that type of
So why? Okay, let's continue. Yeah, so we talked about enterprise information system, right? So the rest of the lecture is we just focus on just one very important, commonly used enterprise information system. So we call it the ERP system, Enterprise Resource Planning. So it's an inwardly organized system. It's a software designed to capture a wider range of information about key business events, including accounting, finance, HR, sales, marketing, and manufacturing. So why include this department? Because according to a professor from Harvard University, Michael Porter, right? He's doing his expert in the business area, and then he argues that he has done a lot of case studies and argue that these 6 activities are very important to a manufacturing firm. Right. So in order to do a business, in order for a manufacturing firm to succeed, so they have to manage these departments well. And in addition, these departments are somehow connected to each other. So that's why he proposed that a very good enterprise information system, right, should help the company connect, right, these 6 departments. So that's where ERP comes from, right? So ERP basically is one type of enterprise information system that connects the company's, right, departments of these 6 types, right? Connecting the company's 6 departments for the following 6 one here. However, again, ERP is just one concept, right? And in fact, there are many different companies that are trying to develop an ERP system, right? So there are many different ERP vendors. Oracle, you heard of Oracle? Is a very big technology company. There's one branch here in Canberra, in the North Miami. Oracle, I think they aim to develop ERP for very big companies, right? And their competitor is SAP, right? So they focus on purely the large companies, right? And Lawson Info, so these are another 2 companies. So they develop ERP system for most the medium-sized companies. And Microsoft Dynamics, Sage, so the ERP developed by them are for small business. Right, so these are the definitions for large, small, and medium-sized business. As I said, in Canberra, you will have SAP and Oracle here. So if you want, you can attend their training section. Just call them, give them a call, and then they run the training class. So if you later on, if you want to work for a very big company, for a manufacturing company, I think it's good to have those trainings. I think after the training, they will give you a certificate. I think those certificates will help when you are applying a job, right? Yeah, so I think in Australia, the SAP is more famous. So these are the companies here that are using SAP. So if you want to learn SAP, then there are some modules inside, right, inside of this software. I don't know why these days we remove that material from management accounting, but I remember when I learned management accounting, right, we do need to, this one assignment is about, is about learning SAP. So basically you have to, install the app, install the software in your computer, and then you are given a textbook, and then you have to, do the modules one by one. I think there are a total of 6 modules, right, for a student version of SAP. So I think remember one of the modules is about purchasing, right? How to use SAP to operate the purchasing request, right? Another module is about manufacturing, right? How you can use SAP, right, to automate the manufacturing process, right? So I think it's very good, but unfortunately we removed that from this course. But I think it's still worthwhile to have a training, right, from SAP or even Oracle. So one last concept I would like to mention is the single source and the best of breed systems. So a single source ERP system is where all the system or modules contained with the system are provided by a single software vendor. So for example, if for the 6 department, we mentioned accounting, finance, accounting. Remember the Porter 6, the Porter's Michael Porter's value chain, right? These 6 departments, right? The single sourced system means that the software used in each of the 6 departments, they are all developed by the same vendor, right? So the software used in accounting, finance, HR, sales, marketing, and manufacturing department are all developed by, for example, Oracle or SAP. So if that's the scenario, then we can say the whole enterprise information system, the whole enterprise resource planning system used within this company is a single source of system. Right? And the best of breed means different departments, right? They use different software. I mean, the software developed by different vendors. Right? Accounting department, they may use SAP, right? And the finance department, they may use the software developed by Oracle, right? So that's the 2 different types of enterprise information system. Some of the people say, best of breed is good. Why? Because, each department can pick up the most, right, the most suitable software, right, for their own department. Yeah, that's right. But there are some downside with best of breed system. The downside is sometimes, if different departments, they use different software, there may be integrating problems. It's just like, sometimes you find that if you want to send a document, right, create it in the Apple system to Microsoft computer, then, when you actually look at the document in the Microsoft, you can't see the contents, right, because it's destroyed. The data is distorted, right? Because, Apple and Microsoft, they are using different systems. So that's the biggest problem of using best of breed system, right? There may be some integrating problems. And there are some, other pros and cons of single source and a best of breed system. You can look at yourself. But I think the most important advantage and a disadvantage I already mentioned to you, right? So that's the 2 systems here. So what are the benefits of ERP system? So I kind of mentioned that, right? It's just it's just it's just similar to the benefits of enterprise information system. So allow easier global integration, as I showed you of the Foster's example, right? It can help better integrate different departments, different branches of the same company, especially when they have operations in different countries. And it can also help reduce the barriers of currency exchange rates. Say, for example, if the company has an operation in Europe, right? The units used there are euros. So when you can for a local team, for a local sales and marketing team, right? They can use euros in their system. But when those data, right, is transported electronically to the head office in Australia, then the system, if preset, can help you automatically translate, convert the euros to Australian dollars, right? Based on the exchange rate on that day. Right? So this can automatically done by the system. So another example is I'm I'm working with some people from US, right? Because there's a time difference between Australia, Canberra, and the US. But with the enterprise information system, when I send the appointment request through email, right, the system can help me automatically adjust, right, the timing, right, local time, adjust Canberra local time to adjust that to the US time. So when my coworker in US see the appointment request, actually he or she can see the US time straight away, right? So all this can be done by the system, right? So there's no need for more work to make that happen. So ERP system can also help eliminate the requirement to update and repair many separate computer systems. So this one is easy to understand. You see the computer I'm using here, right? Do you know that when there's a need to update the software, the IT person does not need to come here. So what they can do is they just need to update the software in their own central server, and then all the computers in different classrooms connected to that essential server, right, will be updated straight away, right? And so the ERP benefits can be divided into two groups: quantifiable benefits and intangible benefits. So if you see, sometimes why these days more and more companies start to use ERP system, because you can see the benefits, right? How they can measure the benefits? I think for quantifiable benefits, it's easy to measure because they can be measured in dollars. But the ERP also have some intangible benefits. But the problem is maybe it cannot be measured in dollars, right? In concrete numbers. But still, some of the CEOs, senior management, they still believe that intangible benefits will eventually, right, feedback. It will eventually transform to quantifiable benefits in the long term, right? So that's the lecture here. So finally, before we discuss the lecture problem, I want to show you one technology. So it's my friend's company. I'm not trying to promote his business, but I just think this software is very good, right? It's actually I think he graduated from ANU, and then he's now in Sydney. So the software, I think his team has developed, is called HyperAnna. So this HyperAnna, I think it's even more advanced than enterprise resource planning system. Because enterprise resource planning system, there's no artificial intelligence involved, right? Because all the program has been, all the software, the system has been pre-programmed, right? But HyperAnna is more about artificial intelligence. So I think from my conversation with him, he told me that if you are a salesperson within the company, right, and if you have this app, if your company purchases this app and then you have authority to use this app, then you can speak to your phone straight away. Say, for example, if you want to know, as a salesperson, you want to know, in which year your company make the most sales. You just talk to your phone, and then the HyperAnna can speak back to you, right? So you don't need to send an email. You don't need to log into the system. You just speak to your phone, like the Google Siri, iPhone or Google, I can't remember, but it's like the Siri. You talk to her, and then he will respond to you. So similar here, right? And in addition, one more fancy thing about this software is, I think this is very fancy, where especially useful for Woolworths. I think actually Woolworths is one of their customers here. So if you put the product on a certain position, right, in the rack, then you just take a picture there, and then the software will help you predict how many sales you can make if you put that product in a certain position in the rack. And if you move that to another position, you just take another picture, and then it can help you generate, another prediction, so on and so forth. And sometimes, they say they are doing another thing here. Especially, I think this is going to be very useful for banks and and also the car sellers, car dealers, where when a new customer comes in, right, you take a picture of the new customer and then you put here his gender, age, whatever, salary level, and then the software can help you predict the probability for him to purchase the car, something like that. So it sounds like a big data analysis, right? So you get all the data, and then based on those data, the software can help you do some analysis. So when a similar type of person comes in, then it can give you a prediction, something like that. So that's why I think it's very interesting. So maybe that's the trend for the future. All right, make all the accounting work easier. All right. So next, final thing is the lecture problems. So here is the question you have. So an organization that needs to establish an electronic connection with its supplier computer system should choose what do you think? It's connecting, the software connects the company with its outsiders. So it must be a hourly, right, C here. And second question, which of the following statement is true? ERP, remember, if it's ERP, then I thought about the professor, right, who say there are 6 important key functions within a business. So it should be B, right, to capture a wider range of information for not all business process, but key business events, including the accounting, activities, finance, sales, marketing. I can't remember the other 2, but go back to your slides and check. So key activities is the point. And the question number 3, a best-of-breed ERP system. Best of breed. So we use the software developed by different vendors, right? So what do you think? See, it is a mix of components from various vendors, matched to meet the business requirement. Good. So that's the 3 multiple choice questions. And one problem, briefly explain the benefits of ERP. So I think you should have some ideas already, right? But if you look at the solution, it's here. So the benefits can be generated into quantifiable benefits, right? They can be measured in dollars, right, in numbers. So some of the examples examples are a reduction in inventory, right? So what the company can do is, how to say? I think to be more accurate, it should be a reduction for inventory stored in the warehouse. Right? I think that's more accurate. So what the company can do is, before they implement the system, they can they can send someone to the warehouse and count how many inventory can't be sold, but still in the warehouse. And after implementing the system, the ERP system, then they do another check and then compare the difference. So then they can get a number. Right? So that's one quantifiable benefits. Because with this, reduce the number of inventories stored in the warehouse, they can figure out, right, how many cost they can save, right? And another example, reduce the material, labor, overhead expense after the company used the system, right? So on and so forth. And so these are some of the example of quantifiable benefits. So for this type of question, there's no unique answer. Just use your imagination, right? Just think aloud, and then as long as your answer makes sense, then that's good. But I think the most important thing is these quantifiable benefits. Quantifiable benefits can be measured in numbers, in dollars. Right? Otherwise, why we call it quantified. It can be quantified, right? And some non-quantifiable benefits include intangible benefits, right? Non-quantifiable benefits can be, a common database. So as I mentioned, if the company uses ERP, then the data can be shared, right, among different departments straight away. But how can we know exactly these benefits in dollars? Can we do that? It's very hard, right? So that's why for those benefits, it's intangible. We know that we kind of have, most of people will have the feeling that it's a good thing, right? Sharing the data, we can share the data straight away. But the problem is we don't know exactly how much value in dollars, right, that can be added to the company, right? But it's still a good thing, right, in most people's mind. So for those kind of benefits, they are intangible, right? So they are non-quantifiable. All right. So any other questions? No? If not, then I will see you guys after the break. Okay? And all the best to your midterm exam. So I will talk to you guys if you can't get distinction for the midterm exam. No, I'm just joking. I won't talk to you, but just try your best. This course is not that difficult. Before you finish, do you have any questions about midterm exam? Oh, one thing there's two more things I want to mention. So first of all, so in the practice exam, you have questions on absorption and variable costing, right? So that's not examinable, right? So don't worry about that. So I repeat it. It's absorption and the variable costing, right? So if you have a question on that in the practice exam, right, just ignore it. Right? It's not going to be in the midterm exam. And the second, your assignment will be available next week, in a group assignment. So if you haven't got a group member, I think it's better to start talking to someone. Otherwise, in the break, you won't see each other, and then when you come back, you will have less than 3 weeks to do the assignment. Right? So trying to find a group as soon as possible. I think there's one person coming to me saying, he hasn't got a group, so maybe, someone can talk to him. Right? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, because I think in the course online it says 3 to 4 people. So 4 people is okay, but no more than 4. Yeah. I think in the exam, it will tell you how many decimal places you need to keep.
Yeah, I know, but I think it is just talk about the final, the final figure. I want to know during the calculation between 2 rounds. For example, it is not 7.83, it's actually a series of numbers. But here we just use these numbers.
So I didn't get you. So it's 7.8.3, but it's still 7.83 here. So what's the problem?
Actually, it is not this number. It has some small.
Yeah. So as I said in the exam, it will tell you how many decimal places.
Oh.
Yeah. But I think, generally speaking, I think 3 will be enough.
3.
Yeah. But to be honest, I think we will check your working process. If your working process is right, even if at this small place you keep 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. But to be safe, I would say 3. Yeah, but in the exam, I think you will be told how many decimal places to keep.
And another question is here it mentioned has had 3 new employees.
Yeah.
But in the process, I think why we do not multiply 3. The solution just ignores this information. Just gives no.
So yeah, I think that's a good question. But I think this. So first of all, I think the question is not good. I make students confused. But I think the question assumes, right? Although they hired 3 employees, but maybe. So they only call the other 2 employees to come to work when the first person is not able to do the job. So that's why I think, which makes the question confusing. Yes.
Excuse me, I
Yeah.
want to ask about the training of SAP. I want to know the training or
I don't know. I think there's a branch. There's a physical training.
is it free or not?
I don't think it's free. If you're a student, I think it might be cheaper. I think there's a office in Canberra. Oh, it's Apple. You see? SAP Canberra. This is Canberra. We're in Beacon. So do you, they have a telephone number.
Okay.
You just call them, just saying I'm a student and I want to attend the SAP training. You see here, Canberra SAP training. It's in level 4. It's actually in Marcus Clark Street. I think, this is office, but I think you need to talk to them first. So why do you want to do this? Convinced by me? Or you have some friends, or
No, just ask. Yeah, by you.
okay. So I think it's important.
I think so. I think maybe I want to apply a job in
Consulting.
company. Yeah, and I think that is not.
Yeah, because from my experience, when I go to the manufacturing firm, because I have a research project with them, I think most of them. I said actually 2 construction companies. I think both companies they are using not SAP but a very similar system. Yeah, but if you work in MAP, in some of the Australian companies, then you must know SAP. But if you work in China, in US, then maybe it's not a SAP but a US or Chinese version of SAP. Because SAP is an Australian company, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? It's Australian. So mainly has business in New Zealand and Australia. So that's why this is. I think it's a Australian company or New Zealand company. Yeah. So just call them if you want to go to our training. Just call them.
Thank you very much.
So how do you find this course? Easy? Hard?
Not so easy.
Huh? Not so easy.
Yeah. My bachelor degree is finance, so I don't have an accounting background.
Very similar.
Yeah, maybe.
So where did you do your bachelor?
China.
Oh, which university?
It's in Guangzhou, Jinan University.
Which one?
Jinan.
Oh, it's many Huaqiao teaching. Yeah, because I think 2 years ago they came here and then they tried to recruit some people from NU. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes, I think, yeah. And this year there's another university called Southwest University. Came here. but it's not from Hong Kong, but Canton. But I mean, 3 years ago they came here, and they recruit people from here.
I see.
So you are